Hello, this is Christy Strickler for GetItScrap.com, and we'll be talking today in this video about scrapbooking graduations and milestone ceremonies. It's the season for moving up, moving on, and for ceremonies celebrating accomplishments and new starts. Our creative team has a variety of layouts designed to inspire you to make those pages that celebrate the achievements and milestones in your life and the lives of your loved ones. Let's start off by covering graduations. A lot of those are coming up for many of us, and there are scrapbooking kits with themed supplies that support the graduation ceremony. They've got traditional motifs. A lot of the layouts you're going to see today stray away from that, giving you ideas for using things in your supplies and also giving you ideas for the types of photos that you want to take. In this first layout, Deborah Wagner has used class banners to influence her page. She says, "I didn't add much embellishment to this layout because I felt the photos of my niece, the photo of the Marquette banner, and the title told the story. The photos were all digitally clipped to flourished masks, topped off with text overlays, paint splatters, and star glows. Deborah added a border of red and white painted doilies and repeated the red and white color in her title. The title is layered over the focal point photo, further emphasizing it, and the border and title together add repetition of color and variety." Most notably is that she has a photo of that banner on her page. So when you're at the graduation event, make it a point to photograph the decorations, photograph the school banner or the school sign, and include that in your scrapbook layout. This next page is a layout that I created about my son receiving his preschool graduation certificate. I didn't really have any products that were specifically geared towards graduation ceremonies, and because this is a preschool graduation, I chose to dig into my school themed motifs and supplies to create this particular layout. And I made sure to include stars. Those are a great motif. So anything with a school theme will work for those lower elementary grades and possibly even up into middle school. So check your supplies for that. I also want to point out that I made an embellishment of the program from my son's graduation. It's on the lower left and kind of below the two photos and to the side. I scanned it and just made it a smaller size and placed it on the page. So when you're there, collect some of the items, and you may not want the entire program in your page. It might be too bulky to try to find and place that memorabilia, but you can scan the program, or again take a photo of signs or banners that you see and use those to embellish your page. On this next page, Vicki Walters has scrapbooked 4 graduations that her family celebrated in 1 year. She says, "A graduation ceremony is a formal event, and so I used a clean design with a neutral color palette." Now on her page, she has one preschool graduation and then she has several older kids. So the example that I showed you before with mine probably wouldn't work here. You definitely want to do what she did if you're scrapbooking multiple age levels, and stick to something formal and keep your embellishing very simple. In some cases, school colors can be very difficult to work with. They're not always the most flattering. And while I'm not sure that's exactly the case for Katie Scott's layout that we're seeing here, her method or technique is a great way to counter some of those hard to work with colors. So essentially, you're going to choose one main color for your palette and you're going to stick with it. Katie scrapbooked her daughter's kindergarten graduation ceremony and her proud little face. Katie says, "I decided to go primarily with blue and white so that I could incorporate a lot of patterned papers and random leftover embellishments. Some of the embellishments are preschool themed and some are not. The Celebrate stickers came from a holiday sticker pack." So essentially, by choosing that one main color, Katie was able to keep some of the items themed, but she was also able to incorporate scraps in from her stash. everything comes together and feels cohesive because it's one color. So again, this is a great way to counter a hard to work with color that you might find with some of those school colors out there. This layout continues on with the concept that was introduced in Katie's layout before. She's keeping this page very simple. It's a layout by Terry Billman, and she wants to document the emotions of her youngest son, what he experienced at his high school graduation. She wanted the photos and the journaling to take center stage, so she kept that layout very simple, using a neutral background and lowering the opacity of the title. But you'll notice that she's also used just one main color, and that's that orange-red that she's pulled out of the caps and gowns. She's also documented the story from the first time she held her son and writing about this huge moment that's coming forward and the hug that she got from him. So many times when we create our graduation layouts, we document more of the facts, the who, what, where, and when, and they're so formal that they kind of don't have that emotional aspect to the page. So don't forget to enhance some of your journaling with the way that you're feeling, with the way that other family members are feeling, and with the way that the graduate is feeling. A lot of times we take very typical graduation photos, someone receiving their diploma or lining up to receive the diploma. Think about other photos that you could possibly take. In this case, Tara McKiernan has taken photos of the tassels. She says, "This layout is a layout to commemorate my pending graduation from college. Our graduation commencement is this June. To celebrate, I had made graduation photos and ordered 2013 tassels for everyone. The tassels are a symbol of graduation and of achievement, and so featured on this page. I wanted to keep it simple and highlight the image, and my thoughts on graduation finally arriving." Another option for you to document your graduation is to use the color gold, and it can be a bright, brilliant metallic gold, or it can be more of a yellow gold, as you see in this layout by Debbie Hodge. She says, "I scrapbooked an element of university graduation from a professor's perspective, recording the many events my husband attended this one year, from a dinner for top students and their families to a graduate hooding ceremony and the university-wide graduation. I used gold for the theme of ceremony and achievement and embellished with a cap tassel." Now we're going to talk a little bit about award and recognition ceremonies. There are some things, though, that we're going to be seeing in the next few layouts that could be used on those graduation ceremony layouts as well. So just keep your mind open to the possibilities. Our first layout is by Marie-Pierre Capistran, and what I want to point out here is that she's using an announcement from the newspaper. So you can scan announcements or newspaper clippings and use them directly on your scrapbook page. Marie-Pierre says, "This is a page about when I was a figure skater with my brother. We were skating 25 to 30 hours a week, and although we never won a first place, we made the first page of the Toronto Sun newspaper. That was our biggest pride. I kept the page simple and used turquoise because that was the color of my dress, and my dress was a big part of my skating story. I used Heidi Swap alphas that look like a signage on a marquee and Heidi Swap Color Shine Mist. I scanned and printed the newspaper article on plain paper and included photos of us during training sessions and competitions. My journaling is divided into two parts. The first part is the list of everything it takes to get to be the best, the hours of training per week, for example, and the second is the story of us training with the world champions, what we learned from them, and how we landed on the first page of the newspaper." I also want to point out here how using that photo from the newspaper gives you one black and white photo, and it's a nice contrast with the color photos on the side, so definitely makes things a little bit more visually interesting. This next layout is by Amy Kingsford, and she says, "This was my son's first performance of any kind as well as his first award. We were both so proud. I aim to represent the feelings of pride and achievement here. While my thumbs up die cut and these clever word strips reinforce this idea in a concrete way, I also chose a few more abstract motifs to reinforce it. I grounded the photo of my son with his medal with a large burst pattern paper so that he looked as though he was bursting with pride. I also sprinkled a few glittery, shiny stars throughout the page. So again, as with my preschool page earlier, we see the star motif. It's a wonderful way of showing that someone has been rewarded, that they're a shining star. But she's continued it further using that burst motif. And if you don't have a burst style pattern paper, you can of course create one with stitching, with pieced starburst from pattern paper. And the thumbs up is an excellent die cut. I've seen a few of these thumbs up in hands that they're kind of like vintage hands that point places. Those can usually be hard to use, but if you incorporate them into a layout about an award ceremony, they're actually the perfect motif. The last layout we're going to see today is by Leah. She says, our oldest son recently had a quiz team competition and his team took third place. We're super proud of him. To accent my page, I chose several pieces of flair, many of which were related to the topic of recognition, pride, and achievement. So one of the things that you can do to document a graduation or to document an awards ceremony is to use a variety of embellishments that symbolize things that are either important to the event or to the person who is receiving the award. The layouts you've seen today were originally part of an article for the Get It Scrapped blog. We'll link to that for you in the notes for this video. For more inspiration, visit getitscrapped.com/blog.